So make sure that I'm understanding this correct. Augusta High School students' First Amendment right to protest, right? First Amendment right to protest.
That was what I said, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the claim that I called kids stupid.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Was there a third one? If there was, I'm
Directing the high school principal that she should take administrative action against these students.
Do we have policy in our schools for dress code that says what a child is allowed to wear or not wear?
We have a code of conduct that has a dress code. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we allow profanity to be told to the teachers? Is that a suspensionable offense if that happens?
If a student uses profanity with a teacher,
Yes.
is that what you're asking? Then there's a discipline, there's a progressive discipline.
Sir, I'm not sure how this relates to the concerns that were addressed at your particular content.
So they said that this is a First Amendment right for kids to be able to go and walk out of school. That's a protected right. I would disagree with that while they are in school. So we have a dress code that says this is what is appropriate for you to be able to wear, what it is, what you're not supposed to be wearing. You're not supposed to wear a shirt that has profanity on it. You're told, so you're limited as to your First Amendment rights in clothing. You can't even wear a hoodie as per the dress code to go out there because that is a punishable offense. If a child is caught swearing, it is potentially that child could get detention. This is their place of duty. Just as if somebody was going down and working at McDonald's or Popeyes, you're there, you clock in, you work. If you go and leave work, you don't clock out, and you decide my First Amendment right says I'm going to go out and protest. Well, you're going to return back to that afterwards expecting a pink slip. So their place that they're supposed to be is at school. So at 2:05 when these kids go out, they can go and swear up a storm if they want to. They can put whatever t-shirt on that they want to. That's a First Amendment right that's guaranteed. They're limited in this public school. So I was never against them, and I even said that while I was out there. This is not the time and the place for them to go out and protest. They're on taxpayer paid time. They were on my dime for them to go out there and go out there and do their little protest, right? So the absolutely hilarious part about the whole thing is they were out there to protest because the budget wasn't high enough for them, because they wanted, the only way they were going to get that money was by increasing Augusta taxpayers' dollars. And so how they managed to protest what they did was to actually leave a school that is funded by taxpayer dollars. It is complete insanity that there's a standard of behavior that is expected of children while they are in school. When they are outside of school at 2:05, bell rings, gone. You're on your own, you're doing your thing. The school is no longer responsible for that. Their education for that day, and my taxpayer dollars, every Augusta City resident's taxpayer dollars are done. They've completed being spent for that day. So I don't believe I violated anybody's constitutional rights, and I even said it while we were out there. If you want to protest, do it at 2:05 on your time, not taxpayer dime. Insofar as calling kids stupid, I did not. I did not. I know what I said, and I will stand here all day long, and you can parade as many children up here or whoever else that you want to go and say that I called them stupid. That was never once said to a child from me, nor was it ever said that I called them dumb. Never once did I say that. What I did say, and I will stand by this right here, I will convict myself on exactly what I said. I said, what this is going on, what they are doing is stupid and ridiculous, that they need to go back in school because that's where they belong. They do not need to be going out and protesting. They do not need to be walking off the school grounds and putting the liability, the actual liability, the liability risk of me for the school board for telling children to go back into their class. There's no First Amendment violation as per this. This is what you claimed in here. I could be potentially setting the school in Augusta for a lawsuit because I'm violating their First Amendment rights to go to speak while they're on school time, taxpayer time, my dime. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So the real liability that happened on that day was the fact that these kids were allowed to walk off of school property. How many police officers ended up being involved in protecting these children? Do you have to know, Mr. Superintendent?
Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
I believe 6 to 8, sir.
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
So do you know how many of those officers were actually taking off of patrol to go and to cover down on this?
I don't know that, sir.
You don't?
I just know there were approximately 6 to 8.
Approximately 6 to 8. When I talked to Jared Mills, the Augusta city manager, he said there was more likely about 10 to 12 that were actually there on some of the patrol cars that actually been taken off of patrol to come over here to make sure that these kids were able to make it down to City Hall safely. So again, they went out and protesting of the lack of taxpayer dollars while incurring more of an expense on the city of Augusta by the police having to go off of what their duty and their job was of protecting Augusta City writ large to cover down to make sure that these kids were protected. Go back to directing admins to punish people. I got here at 8:55 that morning, and as I was walking up, everything just kind of happened. All the kids come running out, and I said, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. And I did say, you need to get back to class. Somebody needed to say it because there dang sure weren't any other teachers or administrators that were out there that was telling them that they should have gone back to class. So was I acting as a member of a school board? Did I have the authority of the school board? The answer is no, I do not. I fully understand when and where I have the authority as a school board member, and that is here, now, or at subcommittee meetings, and that is only if this board votes to give me the ability to speak to somebody, someplace, to give me the authority to speak on behalf of the board. That's the only 2 times I have the authority as a board member. Other than that, this guy is James Orr, who happens to be a board member. And at no time did I go walking up to any administrator, any leadership, and say, I'm board member James Orr, you better give every one of these kids. I did not do that. I did have to speak louder because there's 150 or so kids that are come screaming on out because, well, some of them did it just because that's 2.5 hours of school that they got to miss. Others had other intentions. What I had said, and which was the same thing that I had said to leadership down at City Hall, was, were they told that they were going to get detention if they walked out of here? Because if they had been told that they were, well, chances are some of them probably would have gone back to the classroom just because they knew they were going to get punished. And the response I got from leadership on 2 different occasions was a deer in the headlight look when I asked that question. So I guess me just being James Orr, a private citizen who has to be on the school board with absolutely zero authority to speak as a school board member, would have to take that as the answer as no, they were not. And I did say, well, they should get detention, they should get suspension, and they should get detention or a suspension up to potentially up to 10 days. I did say those things. Now, having said should is not a directive. That is not a directive word. And it was not supposed to be meant in a directive manner, that I'm telling you, you need to do this. Being in a directive manner is literally me going up to leadership and telling them, you will get the names of all of these students and you will give every single one of them detention, suspension, whatever it is, because we have school board policy that is the rubrics that literally says, if you skip class, detention. After that, while the students went off the property, which is a suspensional offense, so the group had just left. There was 6 to 8 boys that were in that island coming off of Bridge Street, coming onto Rotary, that were just standing there. They weren't part of any group because they just marched off. A group of kids started walking off, 8, 10 of them, they started walking off. And he yelled back to a bunch of his own buddies and said, hey, we're taking off. We're going to go back to school, or we're going to go and stop at McDonald's, and then we're going to make our way back to school. There wasn't any safety. There was no security for these kids. They literally walked off. Now, who was responsible for these children? Well, according to the policy and what the superintendent said and the lawyer agreed with, the superintendent is 100% responsible for every one of these children. So I walked down the hill, had a conversation with the superintendent and let him know. You have a whole group of kids that have just walked off. They're all heading to McDonald's, and they said at some point they're going to make their way back to school. A group of kids, so there was like 3 or 4 of them. As soon as they got there, they turned around, walked off by Fort Western, walked across Bridge Street. I have no idea what happened to them. I don't know where they went. I can pretty much guarantee you they didn't get back to school. And I addressed that with the superintendent. Again, not as a board member, because I don't have that authority to speak as a board member. And asked, what is he going to do? I asked the same question. Are these kids going to get detention? Are they going to get suspension? They should. And I said, because they should. Again, not directive. Should is not a directive word. Should is a suggestion. Deer in the headlight look. No answer. So when I get a deer in the headlight look, I guess the answer is no. the reason why the buses came down there is it was not planned for. Because the city manager said that he could not afford to have the city and have the police stay there with these children, that the superintendent needed to get some buses down here to go and bus them back. And when I was talking to one of the kids down there, and I asked them, why did they leave and what have you? And they said, well, we were told, my understanding was that as long as we got back to school at 11:30, nobody was going to be in trouble. That's hearsay. You can shake your head. That's hearsay. That's what they said. Just like these children said that claimed that I was calling them stupid and dumb, right? Hearsay, according to the, for those parents that received that text message with his little, with a memorandum from the superintendent. And it says that, once again, the school had nothing to do with this and that there are going to be natural consequences. But I do find it sad to say that barely the only thing that's a natural consequence is to go after James Orr, that a city councilor's company nonprofit brought down with another city councilor who was not in their capacity, was part of that, handing out hoodies and everything else. We're all part of this charade. Because what you didn't actually see, what actually didn't happen, was students doing what students are supposed to be doing, which is being in school and getting the best academic education that they should be getting. That's where I stand. That's where I've always stood, about improving children's education. And so when 100 some odd kids go walking out of school, yes, this guy, as a taxpayer in the city of Augusta, I've got an issue with that. And I have absolutely the right to go and talk to leadership as a private member about, are these kids going to be disciplined for their actions all day long, like anybody else does? Because I was never in that official capacity. Because again, I only am here right now at subcommittee meetings doing official business, or if this board votes, which they never will, to give me permission to speak on their behalf as a board member on behalf of this board at City Hall or whatever function that might need somebody to do so. This is a show. This is ridiculous and absolutely mind-boggling. How about stop going after me and everybody start doing their freaking job?
Amen.
That would be fabulous.
The mission of the Augusta schools is to teach students to engage with one another in a respectful manner, to develop good citizenship, and to stand up for what they believe in. And whereas Director Orr overstepped his role as an elected board member on or about April 30th, 2026 by, number one, confronting and chastising Coney High School students who were expressing their First Amendment right in a protest related to cuts to the school budget. And two, yelling at students and engaging in name-calling of students, including calling students stupid. And three, seeking to direct the school principal to take administrative action against the students to address the students' protected activities. That the board hereby formally and publicly censures Director James Orr for his actions and conduct incompatible with the responsibilities of an elected school board member, and directs him to immediately cease from overstepping his elected role and interfering with daily school operations.
So once again, this little kangaroo court that, for whatever reason, the city of Augusta decided every single Democrat on this board, except for, lo and behold, this guy. So if you don't think that politics are in play, of course it is. It is sad. It is sad, the actual state of what our school and what our school board and what Augusta has unfortunately become because of stuff like this.
Mr. Orr.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Censorship for board member James Orr, July 8th, 2026. Those in favor of censorship, please raise your hand. In a vote of 6, those against?
I don't believe I can vote during my censure, right?
Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
Oh, I can, well, hell, I'll vote no.
And
I
a
think
vote-
it's absolutely stupid.
In the vote of 6 to 1, the censorship is enforced.
It's funny because you actually
I'm not
got
gonna
us
be part-
a
I'm
federal
not gonna be
lawsuit.
part
We
of
didn't.
I'm not gonna be part of this kangaroo court for this crap.
Let's call the recess
Thank you,
for the next 10
James.
minutes.
Thank you. You actually got us a federal lawsuit. He didn't.
The board is recessed.
Yeah.
Recess off.
Recess. Go to